Hi, you guys. Um, yeah. So I am
Thank
Mica.
you.
It's
Thank you,
true.
Michael.
Yeah. And my computer is being a little funky, so I may have to turn off my my camera at some point. But yeah.
Sounds
So,
great right now, Michael.
oh, good, good. All right. Should I go?
Yeah.
Is it
Oh,
time?
yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so hi, I'm Micah. I'm an alcoholic. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. I moved down here to get sober, actually. I went to treatment for 90 days at a place called The Ranch, and it was pretty amazing. I did relapse as part of my story, but we'll get to that. So, I like to tell my story kind of like uh, what it was like, what happened, and then what it's like now. That's kind of what people say is the general framework. So, so what it was like early on, I really knew that I was different. I felt weird. I felt different. My family life was not stable, and I kind of bounced around between family members. And my biological parents are both, well, were both addicts and alcoholics. And then my adoptive family has a lot of process addictions going on. So, what a process addiction is something like an eating disorder, gambling addiction, workaholism, codependency, all those things um, will take over your life in a similar way to alcoholism. And that kind of like addictive um, disease is still present, I think. And so I inherited the disease of addiction. Um, and I think that my driving force for most of my life has been just seeking to be included, looking for family. And I've done that in some healthy ways, and I've done that in some very, very unhealthy ways. Um, so that's kind of what it was like for me. Just feeling a little different, a little out of place. And then, you know, um, I went to college and, started drinking really heavily until I would black out. And I loved to drive around when I was drunk. That was like my favorite thing to do. And I just kind of thought, oh, I'm just doing what everyone around me is doing. Um, and my best friends were like, you have a problem. I really want you to go to a meeting. So I went to a meeting, and it was like just all sort of older people and like very low bottom folks, and like that's awesome. Now, if I went to that meeting, I would be so stoked to see everybody, um, because we're the same. Uh, but back then, I just wasn't ready to quit drinking, and so it was kind of a barrier I put up right away. Like, these people are old and gross and not like me, so I'm not an alcoholic. So I'm gonna go get blackout drunk and be very, very sad. Um, and so that continued. I dropped out of college. I went back a few times, but I was still very much in active addiction, and got involved in a really bad relationship. And uh, I kind of had convinced myself that I was drinking because that relationship was so bad. The truth was, I kept going back to that relationship because it gave me an excuse to drink the way that I wanted to, which was until I blacked out. And I would wake up with like weird bruises and people telling me stuff I'd done the night before. And it started to get really troubling when people would tell me things that that person I was in a relationship with had done to me when I was blacked out. And that was awful. And I very much didn't want to believe that that was happening. So I kind of denied it. And, if I didn't have a memory of it, it didn't really happen. But it did. It did. And in the process of that relationship, I lost my relationship with my dad. Um, and one of the times that I had tried to get sober, I was living with my mom, and my dad died. This was gosh, that was like 9 years ago now, and it was awful. It was really bad, and it took a long time, and we knew he was going, and it was like I just hated myself for how terrible our relationship was before he, you know, became unreachable because he was dying. And um, I finally decided after dad died and I lost, that half of my family because I was just very much an active addiction for all of that. I lost friends. I lost apartments. I wrecked cars. Um, just really the ravages of the disease of addiction. And so I made the decision to get sober after dad died. And I didn't really want to be sober. I just knew that I needed something different. And so I went to my second AA meeting, and I would be like, "Hey, my name is Mica." I wouldn't say I was an alcoholic. Um, I finally did after a while, after hearing people's stories and like starting to care about the people around me. And I was like, "Oh, okay. So these are just people, and they're just like me, and they are staying sober, and I want to know how to do that." And so I continued to be sober for a little while, and I would relapse when I would visit part of my family. And my aunt told me once, I was like, "Yeah, I can't drink. I'm sorry." She pushed and pushed, like, "Why?" And I said, "Well, I'm an alcoholic. I'm really trying not to drink." And she said, "You are not an alcoholic." And I was like, "Oh, maybe I'm not an alcoholic." And so I would drink with them and eventually end up, alone with a bottle. And so that was not very healthy. And eventually I had to stop doing that um, because I was continuing to get very drunk and drive around. And I wrecked a few cars. And like, I'm I'm very lucky in that I haven't really had consequences for that. Um, and so, because there was no like huge dramatic thing that happened, um, it was kind of hard to say like, okay, I'm stopping now. I'm going to quit. I'm going to go to meetings. I can say this huge thing that happened and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, okay, you're really an alcoholic." And it's like, for me, it was a slow progression. And so I ended up in treatment eventually. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. Um, and went through treatment, and stayed sober for a few years actually, and I started. I was involved in like kind of a. Um, I don't even know how to explain it. It was like a community of hippies, pretty much, and we did fire walking. Um, and I got like certified as a fire walking instructor, and did a lot of like fire tending and sacred fire tending and things like that. Which I still love. I still love you know, kind of being able to commune with nature in that way, making fires, being outside, controlled, happy, small fires. um, and I wasn't focused on my recovery at that time, and I relapsed. I got into a relationship and started smoking weed, and smoked weed exclusively for like 4 years. And then my mom died. And that was right as the pandemic was starting. And that was the time that I was like, wow, I really have to do this for myself. My dad's not around, mom's not around. I've lost my family, I've lost all of my friends again. And so I started coming to 5D, and I met all of you guys, and y'all got me through, cleaning out my mom's house and going between Nashville and Austin, and I made really good friends, and I found a sponsor, and I started working the steps, and actually managed to get through all of the steps this time, and really actually do this thing. And my my husband, my so we got married during the pandemic, and that was after he decided to go to treatment as well. He was an alcoholic, and so that's pretty cool. And yeah, so now I sponsor people. I adore my sponsees, and being able to share my what I learn on a daily basis, from the program, from taking inventory, from praying and meditating, uh, is really special, and it really kind of like grounds in me how important it is, for me to work a program every single day, stay in touch with my sponsor, sponsor other women, read a little bit from the book every day, read on awakening and when we retire at night. And these are huge parts of my life. And, you know, taking inventory at night is another one that I don't always do, but I try. Um, and saying something when I am upset has been difficult and incredibly important. And it's really been the core of like having trouble relating to other people. It's just not saying like, you know, I'm struggling, I'm upset, I'm having trouble right now. Um, is something that's really taken me down before. And this time I'm actually like, hey, I'm struggling with this thing. And people aren't like, oh, well, you're an alcoholic and you're going to relapse now. They're like, oh, I can relate to that. And like, let me share with you my experience and how I came through it. And that has been really amazing, to see that like I can do this program and be a mess and talk about it, and actually get through it without resentments. Um, they pop up and I take care of them. Like I have an actual solution, and I'm not trying to be preachy here. Like, we're not saints. We have a daily reprieve, and nobody's perfect. But like, we have the opportunity to do this on page 84. I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to shut up. Um, and and we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. For by this time sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we had been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react, so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. And you guys help me do that, and I'm really grateful for you guys. And I love every one of you, and I hope that you stick around long enough for miracles to happen for you. That's all I got. Thank y'all.